So, finding a builder. So there's two aspects to this. The one is I'm going to give you some little directions as to where you can look and find. But I also want to say to you that this is the most important aspect of your villa project. Your project will sink or swim based on your choice of builder. And there are many stories in Bali where this has not gone well, and we could go into the various reasons why that has been, but I'm not going to go into those right now. We may do later. But the main thing is that you need to do due diligence before you engage someone. And by due diligence, I mean they need to have built something before that they can show you, and preferably more than one thing, and preferably a variety of buildings, so that they built a two-story building, perhaps they built a hotel, and they certainly have built villas. And you really need to go into this quite carefully. You need to ask to speak to the people that engage them for a testimony, and you need to ask specifically about the various trades that go into the building and who they would be employing. So in other words, what has the plumber done previously in his or her career? What has the electrician done? Because although the builder themselves may have a good pedigree, the people they employ, they're only as good as the people they employ. Now sometimes you can get lucky, and indeed this happened to me, that I met someone who was very experienced. The buildings that he had built were all around the site that I bought to see, and still standing after 8 or 10 years. And he had built hotels and villas, and that's absolutely ideal that you can see. Also, someone who is doing a lot of work for foreigners, they have a reputation to defend. And this can be an important factor in my view. So in other words, if a builder here, their livelihood depends on their reputation amongst foreigners, amongst bule, then this is quite a strong factor that makes me more confident. Now, as far as finding builders, this is relatively easy to do. It's just vetting them that is more difficult. Finding builders, basically, you just let the Bali network work for you, and you just put it about that you are that you are looking for a builder, and you can tell friends and colleagues if you know people here. You can mention it to taxi drivers. This is actually sounds quite funny, doesn't it? But they always know someone who's selling land, someone who's selling a villa, and someone who wants to build a villa. They've always got an uncle or a cousin, if they're Balinese, who is in the business. So this is quite a good way. I'm talking about probably car drivers, because then you can have a bit of a conversation about it while you're in the car. You can tell neighbours if you have local people living near to you, and I can tell you, you'll be amazed what comes back. It's quite a good idea to have a business card printed up. It's not expensive to do this, and then you can give these out to people so that they can contact you on WhatsApp. Probably everyone has WhatsApp, to tell you that somebody is interested in doing business with you. But I do stress again, you must check this out, and don't assume that because a builder is bought through a friend of yours that they are a fully competent builder, because sometimes this is not the case, and it can come back and bite you. The other place is the other thing to say is that builders come in different pedigree. So there are foreign builders in Bali, and you can engage them. They are either from Australia or South Africa in one case that I know, or from Europe, and they have settled in Bali usually quite a long time ago. And they came with a building trade. They were builders in their home country and they just brought their skills here. These days they tend to be building managers. They don't really get their hands dirty. They just direct the various contracting firms. And quite often they speak some Bahasa because they need to communicate with their building teams. There are also local builders. So I would imagine most people watching this video will know, but the indigenous population to Bali are the Balinese, and they practice a branch of the Hindu religion, which is actually quite different from that practiced in India currently. The Hinduism came to Bali a long time ago, and their particular branch of Hinduism is very different. And then there are other Indonesians who've come to settle here who are mostly Muslim, and a few are Christian. And they are usually not born in Bali, but they certainly have the right to live here as any Indonesian would. And there are Balinese builders, and there are builders who are usually from Java. And a lot of the building labourers come from Java as well. There's no particular advantage to each of these. Foreign builders may be more fluent in English, but they're not necessarily from a native English-speaking country. Balinese builders are very well connected into the government and local government system, and that can be useful sometimes. Sometimes builders from outside Bali, their English is perhaps on average not as good as the Balinese because they haven't had to use it in any particular role in their life, whereas the Balinese, a lot of them do speak English, so that can be a factor, but not necessarily so. And it is something you can very easily assess straight on, and indeed you may already be learning Bahasa, and that won't be a problem. Okay. One thing I forgot to say there is that one reason it may be good to have a lawyer is that you may wish to draw up a contract with your builder. And in my experience, quite a lot of the foreign-based lawyers have a pro forma contract which they will draw up for you. I think there's pros and cons to this. I think some builders understandably are anxious not to get tied into time frames because lots of unexpected things happen in Bali. For example, this year there has been an inordinate amount of rain, and that has held up building on some projects, depending where they are. It's very difficult to lay foundations if you have heavy rain, for example. One way I think is quite a good way is if you elect not to go with a contract, is to agree with your builder that the money will come 1 month at a time and a month in advance. So in other words, you will be forwarding enough money to start the work, but I would avoid forwarding a large lump sum like 1 billion plus, unless of course the budget for the villa is huge, because it's difficult to see where that kind of money is gone. So when the building project starts, you really want to see that it is starting and that workers have been recruited, that materials are being bought. And then gradually, month to month, you will gain more confidence in the process. But I can tell you the start of the project is a bit of a nail-biting time.